This podcast is sponsored by The Spot. The Spot is a creative company that uses art science, the study of color, and image theory to positively impact your feel-good. The Spot features the art, music, fashion, and graphics of Voodoo Fae, the modern renaissance. Come visit The Spot at 572 Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn, or check them out online at thespotforart.com.
Raised by Wolves.
Another strange show.
Yes. Have you seen the season finale?
Yes, I have.
Your thoughts?
The last 15 minutes, they just wiped the board clean and added a whole bunch of new pieces.
Yes.
You know, from the whole season, we thought the atheists, spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Raised by Wolves is a show where basically mankind has succeeded in basically pushing themselves to the brink of extermination on their own doing. You had these two fractions that are at war. You have the atheists and the Church of Saul. Right. And they come to this climactic conclusion in which the Church of Saul they get their hands on some plans that create these murder bots that start murdering everyone.
What do they call? They call them necromancers.
Necromancers, yeah.
I think necromancers, yeah.
But isn't necromancer doesn't have to do with dealing with
bring somebody from
yes.
Yeah. But I think they call them necromancers. But you can keep talking about it. I'll look it up. Go ahead.
Okay, so in Raised by Wolves, you have a atheist who's able to reprogram one of the necromancer's robots, but he sends the necromancer to a planet with 12 embryos, correct?
Yes.
And he also sends the necromancer he reprograms it, and he sends it with another android, and he names these two androids Mother and Father, and he tasks them with rebuilding the human race.
Right. Amazing. I mean, the premise alone is intriguing, but there is so much more going on there. It's
you think they crash land on a planet.
They say the planet's name. They say it regularly. It is like.
But you think it's an uninhabited planet, though?
Yes. You were under that impression, yes.
And you come to find out it's not that. You're not sure what inhabited the planet or who inhabits the planet, but now you know at the end of the season finale that something inhabits that planet.
Yes.
And what you also come to find out too, that the atheists were not wiped out. They have a huge ship.
Right. They have their own ark. So the ships are called arks, and the planet is called Kepler 22b. Kepler 22b. And apparently what occurred is that they saw, apparently on Earth, they've located Kepler 22b and realized it had the same type of environment as Earth. And so that's how come everyone sent their arcs there. So the Saul followers, or the Mithraic, I think they call them, knew that they were sending their ships there. And I think it took them 12 to 13 years in stasis to get there.
Yeah, it has think of, if you're familiar with aliens, it has that sort of alien vibe, how, there isn't like light speed, everyone has to sleep in stasis, and it has the blue and the white milk or ooze, whatever you want to call that.
Android white blood.
Yeah, and the alien-like creatures.
Yes.
And it just feels very alien-ish. Yes. Like if a xenomorph popped out of the shadows in next season, I would not be so surprised.
Right. The season finale for me was, it was interesting. I mean, it just, you know what it is? I did not expect it to end like that, but I didn't know what I was expecting. But when I saw that, I was like, I did not see that happening.
You know what it did? And you know what the thing I don't like about shows, when you think you're finally going to get answers, but the new questions they dropped on your head are bigger than the answers you were seeking.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel that's what they did in the season finale.
I agree. I feel like, season finale, what ended up happening was season finale, it ended with okay, you thought now we have the atheist here, and you thought she was pregnant with a baby, but instead it's a giant snake. And the little boy
pops out of her chest.
Right. It actually came out of her mouth. And
yeah, it did come out of her mouth.
yeah, and then it attached to her chest. And then the little boy is hearing voices, and the voices are actually telling him the truth, like secrets. And it's like, well, what is
And he
going
has
on?
very good aim with a firearm.
Well, I think he practiced that. I think he practiced that as a little kid. I mean, they ended with more questions. They didn't necessarily not answer your questions. It's just that you didn't realize this much more. Oh, and you, like you said, you thought the planet was uninhabited. You realize the planet is inhabited, but not only is it inhabited by humans, the humans that were on the planet seem to be de-evolving. They're evolving backwards. So they're going back into being Neanderthals. And so it's kind of like, wait,
Well,
what?
so we think.
Right.
We aren't sure.
So we like they just found results of de-evolution. So it's just a lot of things going on here.
Mm-hmm. And then you had everyone from the Saw arc, basically, if they were 100 people, they're down to what, 8?
Well, yeah, 8, something like that. Yeah.
And now you have this huge ship of atheists. So whereas it looks as if the people from the Church of Saul or the House of Saul, whatever you want to call it, they started the war, but now the atheists are here. Are they going to try to exterminate the remaining people from that the Church of Saul? Altogether, I like the show, but just like whereas they weren't all over the place for the whole first season, they were all over the place in the season finale.
Yes, I will say that.
And I do know you want to have people waiting with anticipation.
Right.
I think they dropped a little too much on you for the season finale.
I completely agree. I think the season was really strong. They built up they did a lot of world building, and not in a confusing way. You were interested, you understood all the factions, you understood what the objective was of each person on Kepler 22b. But in that last episode, I had no idea what was going on.
Also, is Mother going to get her eyes back? Or who has her eyes?
Right, exactly. It's like, who has her eyes? What's going on?
If everything goes insane, they're gonna need them eyes. They're gonna need them eyes.
Yeah. So but I think I'm not sure, but I think they were given a season 2. And
yes, they were.
Yep.
They were given season 2.
I'm excited to see where this story is going.
Yes, and it's not cheap to produce this produce this show at all. So
it's a Ridley Scott joint. So,
yes.
You've been listening to Two Brothers at a Water Cooler with Mike and Tom, produced by Jamie Fernandez and Peter Bune. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts, and you might find your review in a future episode.